Welcome. This is the August 4th, 2022 meeting of the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission, and I'll call the meeting to order. Before we begin our discussion, as usual, we want to just quickly review options for public comment. If you are joining by computer, tablet, or smartphone, you should select the hand raise option. If you are calling in by phone, you can either email landmark@dunbargov.org with your name and phone number and the number you're calling in with and the project that you would like to discuss, or you can dial *9 to show your hand raised. And as it says on the slide, anyone participating in public comment would have up to 2 minutes to speak. So with that, I think we can move forward and just do our introduction of commissioners. So I will ask each commissioner to provide their name and position that they serve on the commission. And we'll go ahead and go in alphabetical order. And I will start. I'm Jane Chrysler. I'm the chair and the preservation architect. And then next we should have Tom.
Tom Sulla, general contractor.
Thanks. Mike.
Mike Coughlin, developer.
And Fred.
Fred Glick, property owner.
Jim.
Jim Gravener, resident for 28 years.
And Heather.
Heather Vasquez Johnson, practicing architect.
Great. Thank you all. Our next item to take care of is our meeting record approval. So I will ask commissioners if they have any comments or clarifications on the July 7th, 2022 meeting record. All right, hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Great, so we had Jim with the motion and Fred with the second. So we'll go ahead and do a quick roll call. So in favor of approval, say aye, and we'll start with Tom.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
And Jane is an aye. So the meeting record is approved unanimously. All right. So then next on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we do have one item today. And that item is 2022 COA 329 1499 Blake Street, Unit 7M. It's a rooftop pergola. So I will ask commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments or desire to pull this item off of the consent agenda? All right. Again, not hearing any. So would someone please make a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think I heard Tom first for the second. So again, we'll do a roll call vote. And again, start with Tom.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
And Jane also an aye. So the motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. And I don't know if we have anyone here representing that group, but if so, you are free to go. And we, as always, appreciate your efforts in putting together the application.
In introducing you all. I don't think you all have met Karen Bryant yet, who's our latest associate planner, and she was the one who worked on this project. So nice job, Karen. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all as well. Have a good meeting.
Thanks.
All right. Well, interestingly enough, we do not have any design review projects on our agenda. So that should take us to our business items, where it looks like I can turn it over to Jen and Brittany.
So before you today, I have a draft for applicant presentations to the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission. This is a document that previously the commission adopted in 2015. So it's a little bit out of date. It reflects how to do presentations when the LDDRC was still in downtown and we did not have technology available to use. So I have updated that policy for your review. We are also doing this for the Landmark Preservation Commission as well, as it's significantly out of date. As we will be moving to in-person meetings in September, it does have information on how to join the meeting in person. So that is one of the policies up for business item today. And then the second item is a policy for public comment to the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission. Jen and I realized that we don't think the LDDRC has ever adopted a public comment policy. So therefore, this is a newer document. This is very similar to the public comment policy for the Landmark Preservation Commission in terms of timelines. For example, submitting written comment by 5 p.m., 11 calendar days prior to the meeting, which allows us as staff to include that in the materials that get posted on the website. And then we will accept written public comment up until noon prior to the day of the meeting. This allows us to email out those comments to you via email. And then there are some frequently asked questions, like how do you sign up to speak at the meeting? What is the order? How many times each speaker will get to speak? Does everyone get to speak? So this is modeled on the public comment policy for planning board, as ours was a little confusing and not quite as clear as we would like it to be. And it also has some frequently asked questions based on how city council's setup is. So those are the two business items before you today. Questions, thoughts, feelings? Fred?
I have a couple of quick questions. One is, I just want to clarify, because I get a little confused. Design review projects are still a public hearing, are they not? Or are they not officially a public hearing?
They're not a public hearing, as so public hearings are slightly different. We don't have many of those before the LDDRC. For public hearings, the major difference is that the chair has to open the public hearing and then close the public hearing, and all interested members of the public get up to 3 minutes to speak. Public hearings are more for demolitions of contributing buildings and things of that nature. So again, we don't have many of them before the LDDRC. They're not as frequent. That's why it's the second kind of process on the.
The other difference is that we post notice on the property. So there will be a sign that says there's a public hearing for blah, blah, blah. And we don't do that for design review items.
Okay, great. Thank you. The only other comment I had was that on the sheet that you have up on the right-hand side about consent agenda comment, there's no public comment period for items on the consent agenda. I would suggest, at least on planning board, if somebody shows up and wants to comment on it, we do pull it off of the consent agenda. And so I think we ought to, I would suggest that that makes sense, that that's appropriate, that if a member of the public does come and wants to comment on something which is on the consent agenda, that we would move it off the consent agenda. And if we do that, then we ought to clarify in here that that's what we would be doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's not our practice though.
Yeah, so the way that LPC does it is that there is a public comment period at the very beginning of the meeting where people can speak about public preservation issues generally before the meeting, like right when the meeting begins, before any of the consent agenda or public hearings or design review projects go forward. And if someone has comment during that period about a consent item, then the commission can decide whether or not to pull it off or not. It's not always pulled off. So it's very rare that we get comments, but sometimes there are comments like, I think this looks great, you know, which doesn't necessarily mean it should get pulled off.
We don't have a general public comment at LDDRC.
I guess I'd put it up for discussion to my colleagues. It feels a little bit to me like if somebody cares enough to attend, that kind of in the interests of public engagement, blah, 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 we ought to consider taking it off, and it could be at the discretion of the chair or something like that. But I don't think it's such a bad thing if somebody wants to, if somebody shows up to pull it off, if somebody cared enough to be here at 8:30. Thanks.
Mike?
It was similar actually to what Fred said. I assume if we pull something off the consent agenda, then there is public comment. Is that
Yes.
right?
So
Okay.
it gets moved to the regular design review agenda, and it will become the first item on the regular design review agenda, and then just follow the design review
Gotcha. Thanks.
comment process.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jim?
I would agree with Fred totally. I think it's important that particularly the residents and the business owners in Lower Downtown have an opportunity to speak. And I would like to see this, I'd like to see this added. Thank you.
The question is whether we should continue this one to the next meeting or whether we should have it go forward. And we make, I don't think that we should make edits and you guys don't see those and we just, you guys, you know, conditionally approve it type of thing. So what are your thoughts?
That'd be good if everybody agrees that that's what we should do. I'm totally happy to conditionally approve it or whatever so that staff can write it up. I have every confidence in you guys' ability to do that.
Yep, I would agree with that also.
I was going to add, I know we've been talking about the one that's on the screen now for public comment policy, but there was also the applicant presentation. And was just going to say, if we're all good with that, I think we could approve that and let that piece move forward and just continue the public comment policy to the next meeting. And I'll just chime in and kind of say this seems
I
to
agree.
cover everything that we typically request and ask, and it's just written down. So
I was going to ask one question on that. Is this more restrictive than what we have been doing in terms of people like creating additional materials or graphics or sheets or whatever? You know, sometimes things come up that are not in our packet. And now we're saying you have to have it a week in advance. Is that more restrictive than what we have been doing in practice over the last few years?
No, it's pretty typical of the time frame we need to review any additional materials and research it and provide you guys with valid input and well
Okay,
thought out.
so Brittany, that's what has been happening. If
Yeah.
people have like extra perspectives or whatever, you've seen them in advance before the applicant starts using them in a presentation with us.
Mhm.
Okay.
Clarifications for this one have to do with the in-person versus hybrid meeting type of thing.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the applicant presentation policy.
I would second that.
Great. So we have Mike with the motion and Heather with the second. And then, yes, we do a roll call vote. Just checking my notes. So if you're in favor of the motion, say aye, and we'll start with Tom.
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Jane is an aye. So the motion passes unanimously. And then Jen and Brittany, do we need to make a second motion to continue the public comment policy?
Yeah, you could either continue it or you could conditionally approve it with conditions about the public comment for consent items.
And do you have a preference?
Not really. I trust y'all.
And if there's someone who would like to make a motion, either for a continuance or approval with condition, I think is what we're hearing.
I'll move that we approve the public comment policy with the condition that staff amend the consent agenda comment portion as discussed in the meeting.
Thank you, Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jim. Unless there's any amendment or discussion, I'll go ahead and do a roll call. Again, in favor, say aye, and we'll start with Tom.
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
and Jane is an aye. So that motion also passes unanimously. Conditional approval for the public comment policy. So I believe that concludes our business items. I don't believe we had any discussion items listed, but Mike, did you have something to add?
Yeah, just a quick question for staff on schedule. Is our first meeting in September the 8th and not the 1st?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that meeting is an in-person meeting, if you recall, for commissioners and staff.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have any comments or thoughts?
I do.
Great.
This is Emily.
Hey.
Hey, I just wanted to let you all know that your badge info is all down at the badging office. So the paperwork that's all been filled out. So I'll send everyone an email with the time frame that the badging office is open. It's quite a small section of time, so you'll want to plan for that. Monday mornings are the worst probably, so but I'll send you those times. So yeah, you'll have a while to come in and get your badge before then. You'll just need to show another like a driver's license or another form of ID and have a photo taken. And then you'll they'll give you a badge right then.
And you also don't need to have your badge to get into the building. You can always just go through security, but don't bring any bricks or Sharpies or knives or things like that.
True.
And if we already have a badge, you guys will automatically renew it as necessary, right?
Yeah, you are one of the 3 that are all set. Yours is working, yeah. And just let me know if it ever doesn't, and then I can always up it because it's, it has a time frame.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
I assume the office where we go is accessible.
Yes, it is absolutely. It's on the first floor. So the web building itself is accessible and the first floor is accessible and all the other floors are by elevator.
Okay, thank you.
And Emily, if we have a badge, does that mean it's active? Or you mentioned there were 3 that were set. How do we know if we're
You
One of the 3.
are one
Same
that
question.
has to get a new one. So you might just bring your old one with you. And maybe they can just update that one.
Okay.
So you don't have to get a new one, but sorry, you were not one of the 3.
That's okay.
What about me, Emily? Same question.
I think, I know it was Fred and Ann. No, it's Fred, Ann, and Gary. Sorry. The other 2 are on
Okay.
LPC.
Got it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No worries. We like our magic badges that
I
get us
know.
in.
I have a meeting with planning in a couple of weeks, and I was hoping I might have to make sure I get a new one before that. So
So everything, although your documents went in on Monday, so yeah, they should be there and ready to go. So anytime from here forward, just go in with your ID and they'll make it all happen.
thank you, Emily.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. All right, anything else from the group? If not, then I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And yeah, record time. Great job, everybody.
3.
Thanks all.
Great week, everybody.
I've seen you. Have a good week.
Do well.